We will have presentations from 4 of our executives who will take you through Lenovo's strategy, business, and performance. And the 4 are Mr. Lappin, our President for Asia Pacific, Mr. Kong Meng Koh, our Vice President for the Enterprise Business Group, Mr. Dylan Ye, who's our Rest of the World Sales Lead for our Mobile Group, and Nick Reynolds, our Chief Marketing Officer. So we know you'll have lots of questions after the presentations, but in the afternoon we do have small group interview sessions, so please hold on to your questions till then. And without further ado, I'll introduce Rod.
Excellent. Thank you, Steph. Actually, I better quickly turn my microphone on. Hopefully it's working. That's it. Thank you. Okay, good morning everybody. I hope you did have a good sleep, as Steph mentioned, and you weren't stuck in the bar too late. For those of you who did, I imagine there was a few that did. I'm just not going to in any way guess who they were. But anyway, I mentioned earlier on this morning that, yes, to a couple of the guys, very unusual hotel. I love the W hotels. I've been staying at them in multiple cities around the world. I think this is my 7th or 8th one I've actually stayed at. This is definitely the most creative room with the whole bath in the bedroom, etc. It's unusual because a lot of you don't realise this. I actually come from a hospitality background. My very first job out of uni, having lived in Japan for a couple of years, was actually in 5-star hotels. And one of the things you do as a hotelier is you give rewards away to your customers who are regular users of your service. So you end up saying, okay, it's his 5th stay, let's put a basket of fruit in his room. Or it's his 10th stay, let's upgrade him to a suite, which happens every so often when you're staying at a hotel regularly. Then when you're on the business side and you actually start to use the service, you realise upgrading an individual into a suite when you're by yourself actually has no value. What you actually want is the hotel to say, here's an upgrade to a suite, you can use it next time you want to, elect to use it yourself when you're coming here. So if you come with a partner or someone like that, you can actually use it and enjoy something like a bath in the middle of the bedroom that none of us probably over the next 2 days are actually going to use. So anyway, I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and I started really in a small reseller in Australia before moving into one of our key competitors now, Dell, for 11 years, before coming over to Lenovo, and I'm in my 9th year here. It's been a really wild ride. It's been a fun experience living across all of Asia Pacific. I've been living in Japan 3 times. This last stint that I've been in Japan, I've been there for over 6.5 years. But I've been in Hong Kong, Korea, South Korea for 2 years, Singapore a couple of times, and obviously Sydney, which is where I originate from. Let me get going straight away because I know I've got, the team here have got about 450 slides for me and I've got to get through them in 20 minutes. So we'll see how we go. As Steph mentioned, no Q&A through the session this morning, but we have a lot of individual and group sessions this afternoon with me. So please write down any question you've got. Let's address it this afternoon. I want to make sure you all leave today feeling really satisfied that you've got the answers you're after for your publications / websites, etc. All right, so firstly, welcome to Lenovo Tech World. It's really our very first exclusive global tech event, and I think it'll be a learning experience, not only for yourselves and our business partners, but also Lenovo as a company globally. I think we've got a lot of learning to be done on how we manage this, but it's going to be very exciting. We've got a lot of new products, some great speakers, as I mentioned last night at dinner. Yang Ching, our CEO and Chairman, as well as Brian from Intel, Satya from Microsoft, and Robin from Baidu as our 4 keynotes during the session, which I think will be very exciting for us. This morning, however, we're going to have a look at our business both globally and across Asia Pacific, and so if you've once again got any questions to that, just write it down. I'll be happy to answer it for you a little bit later on. Lenovo's come a really, really long way, especially from when I joined. We were 22,000 people and really just one business. We were a Legend out of China. We bought the IBM PC business, and consequently we became 22,000 people, and basically back then X number of billions of dollars that was much, much lower than we are today. Now it's 46 billion, and basically we're sitting at 60,000 people across 160 countries. It's pretty amazing just how diverse the company's become in a very short amount of time. We're a Fortune Global 500 company. We're number 285, I think it is, and I think the expansion, the diversity of our revenue now, right now, even more than it was just 6 months ago, is pretty substantial. And that's thankfully to a couple of the big moves we've made in the last year in our acquisition of both the Motorola and the IBM System X business, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. If you have a look at our unique heritage, we've got a very strong M&A heritage, a lot stronger than many other industry players. And I think this is one of our fortes. M&A for us is now a strategic advantage to us as an organisation. We have a blueprint on how we actually do M&As, and we've traditionally been very, very successful at integrating organisations into the company. And that's why Yang Qin, when he's doing these big press releases, can come out to the media with such confidence on our integration of these big M&As that we make. I was actually very integrally involved in the NEC part of this business, having been in Japan. I actually was through the due diligence, the assessment, the closing date, as well as the implementation and integration of the NEC entity as we went forward. That was really one of the first big acquisition/M&A type models we did across Asia Pacific, as well as across the world after the IBM PC division. And it's ended up to be one of our most successful. It's a highly profitable, highly growth-oriented business, where in the consumer space there, according to GfK, we're nudging on sometimes 40% market share in our consumer business in Japan, which is effectively the third largest market globally for us. And Todome, who's with us here, the VP of Japan, is actually responsible for that business now for us. Moto and System X are obviously the two acquisitions that we've done most recently, and both Dylan and I on the Moto and the smartphone side, as well as Kong Meng and I on the x86, the System X business, are working really hard down our integration path in Asia Pacific to ensure we bring a lot of value to the company going forward in Asia Pacific. So about one of the key things is 5 devices sold every second globally now from Lenovo, and our objective is to get that much, much larger than it is today. But it's a very, very exciting part of the company. The momentum from where we were and where we are today is pretty substantial. And I think that continues to spark new innovations for us, and we're going to continually work on how to dramatically change the way consumers live, work, and play. And I think this Thursday and tomorrow at Tech World, you're going to see a lot of diversity from our revenue and a lot more different products we're going to showcase to you. If you have a look at us from a PC perspective, we've been the #1 in the industry now for over 2 years. And I think, while the PC industry is going through some reasonably challenging times, I think the reality is, as the #1 player for over 2 years, we're best positioned to take advantage of the consolidation in the industry, and consequently still have a lot of room to grow in the PC segment globally. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Asia Pacific segment and where I think our growth is as we go into the rest of this presentation. So a really, really strong share position from a PC perspective. You can see #1 once again, as I said, for the last 2 years, as well as obviously our 24 straight quarters of outperforming the PC market. And we're seeing, like in Asia Pacific, basically flat to slightly negative growth in the PC and tablet markets over the next 5 years. But the reality is, as we start to see the consolidation in the industry, the opportunity will expand for us to continue to grow and lift our market share, and consequently be accretive to the company. I'm going to show you a slide in a couple of minutes that shows you that the PC as part of our revenue has actually gone from 82% just 6 months ago down to about 65% as we start to diversify our revenue streams a lot more. But that said, there's still a lot of growth in PCs for us as an organisation. And I'm very confident that in Asia Pacific will be a large part of the growth component to our PC business for this next year. So 10 years ago, we obviously bought the IBM PC division. You can see from then, it's a never look back type scenario where we've dominated and grown very substantially as a PC business. We're now celebrating, just beginning of this year, 100 million ThinkPads have been sold. And I believe that by 2020, we're probably going to get to 200 million because the growth in the organisation is so substantial compared to where we were originally. If you have a look at our tablets, we're #3 in tablets with about 5.4% share. I think that's a very modest position for us. We've got a lot more growth in tablets to go. Even though the market is actually negative growth, I think the market declined 23% year on year. And I think that's not a surprise to Lenovo. You know, if you think back about a year and a half, 2 years ago, everyone was saying the tablet is taking on the PC, and we've really held our ground and said, no, it's not taking on the PC. What's happening is our user base, our users' usage model is actually changing. And now we came out with our 2-in-1, our yoga products, etc., where we really are the strongest vendor globally in that part of the market. The reality is we're very at peace with what's happening in the PC and tablet markets, and we feel like we are best positioned to take advantage of that, both in our innovative products as well as our diverse R&D. We sold about 12 million units last year in tablets, about 26% growth year on year. So we think that the tablet market, while it's reducing, we still have, once again, a very dominant position, or a very confident position, I should say, in the market for this next 12 months. When you have a look at Asia Pacific, I'm going to talk about it in a little while, I believe that we can be the #2 tablet producer in Asia Pacific within the next 12 to 18 months. It's a really great aspirational objective for us, but I think we can do it when you look at the trends we see in the market in Asia Pacific. Basically, when you look at the yoga tablet, this product we've got up here, and some of the new products we've got coming out under the yoga range, very, very diversified product. 4 modes, obviously, 18 hours battery life, plus Pico projector, which has been a very, very key feature for us as we design this product. It's very, very dominant in the premium part of the tablet market. And we need to make sure we're diversifying our product range in both the premium as well as the low-end part of the market when we look at our business. We know that Ashton Kutcher was a great advocate of this product. He was personally involved in the design work, and as a result, we've yielded some really great revenue and margin streams as we went through the launch process. Smartphones, #3 in the world when we combine our Lenovo brand as well as our Motorola brand. Dylan is here to talk to you a lot more about that after Kong Meng talks about System X. Basically, record market share of 5.6%. We sold about 76 million smartphones globally, which means we sold more smartphones than we did PCs last year. We think there's still a lot of opportunity in smartphones going forward. And when you look at the business and the market, how it's segmenting, we think we're once again very primary structured to take advantage of that. You see Motorola as our premium mature market brand and Lenovo as our emerging market mainstream brand. Traditionally, when we bought the two businesses, Dylan's going to show you a map a little bit later on where we're running both models, where we're running just a Moto model and where we're running just a Lenovo model initially. And you can see that it really complements, the two businesses really complement each other globally for growth. What I think is really actually very important about the smartphone market is it's not just China, actually. While China's the most important smartphone market globally, 56% of our revenues are now outside of China when you look at our overall business. It's a combined R&D entity between both our US Moto business as well as our Beijing Lenovo business, and the two leverage each other very strongly. And as we continue to get more synergies from the supply chain and our design work, you'll see the two businesses really complement each other more as we go global. When you have a look at the dual brand strategy, you can really see the two diversifications of the two brands as we go forward. Moto is much stronger and mature, and Lenovo is much stronger in emerging. And we're going to continue to leverage those two tenets for the two brands. From a portfolio perspective, Moto is much stronger in the premium space, as I just mentioned. Lenovo is much stronger in entry and mainstream, just based on their heritage. Yeah. And when you look at that engineering capabilities in both regions, both the USA as well as China leveraging each other, there's going to be synergies over the next 12 to 18 months between the two. Yang Qing's very, very publicly said he'll have this thing turned around in the next 4 to 6 quarters. And I think I feel very confident that we're going to be delivering that in the Motorola brand. It's exceeding our expectations internally already. And I think there's a lot of positive things, both from a product design, innovation that we can leverage in the group overall. Very positive signs for Motorola for our future. From a supply chain perspective, Moto has things like Moto Maker. I don't know if any of you have actually gone on and had a look at it. It's a great opportunity to go and have a look at how we customize phones specifically to each end user. while today everyone's using very standard phones from the top two players, what Moto Maker does is allows you to customize an individual phone specifically to your needs, whether the back is actual wood, leather, whatever it might be, the different colors, etc. It's a very exciting way of buying a mobile phone customized to yourself. I know that in my family I have 3, and each one has either their name or a comment on the back of the phone because it laser etches up to 140 characters on the back of the phone. It's a very exciting offering as well. I think as we go forward with smartphones, we're going to see a lot more customization like that. And I think Moto Maker is a very exciting prospect for us from a supply chain perspective to grow our business under the Motorola brand. When we look at the Motorola from a brand perspective, highly trusted, and it's very respected in emerging markets as well. So when you look at Moto overall, I think it was a great acquisition for us, very good complement to our Lenovo business, and I know that Dylan will now spend a little bit more time on the Lenovo brand a little bit later on for you. From a System X perspective, we're obviously number 3 globally, very, very important for us. But when you have a look at both our Think Server brand, which we mainly had launched only in China, it had gone out a little bit outside of China, but basically in China, it's grown almost 49% year on year, just in the Think Server product range. When you look at System X, we're starting to turn the business around. I'm going to show you some Asia Pacific numbers a little bit later on, but we see that this is really where there's great supply chain continuity and leverage for both brands in Lenovo. I think there's a lot of leverage we can make between the two brands going forward. Great innovative products. The technology in this is absolutely fantastic. And number 1 in CSAT for our System X servers, I think is something we can also leverage. I'm going to talk a little bit more about our customer service and how we take feedback from our customers going forward later on. But you can see that we're really stabilizing this business when we go forward in a couple of slides. And I think it's very exciting for our future. Yang Qing's basically said he wants this business to be $5 billion and much better profitability than our PC business within the next 12 months. And I think we're on track to do that. We're really stabilizing and seeing the growth starting to emerge out of the business. When you have a look at our ecosystem business, it's not something we speak a lot of outside of China right now. It's something we've got to leverage a lot harder. I sat next to Martin from Indonesia. He's here somewhere. Basically, we're doing this sort of great software development. We hired over 1,000, 1,200 engineers over the last 12 months. And effectively, we're designing and developing all these great in-house software applications for our ecosystem and our applications. But in reality, we're not marketing it outside of China very well yet. Things like Share It, which is a great product, has over 200 million users on its own. And we've got to leverage it a lot more outside of China. But it's a great software application. We've got some great applications we're developing, as well as developing our ecosystem. We have over 400 million users now worldwide on Lenovo-specific applications. We've got to leverage more of those globally. When you have a look at our business overall, I've mentioned this a couple of times, you can see we're a much more leveraged entity. 1 year back, PCs were 81% of our business overall. Now we're 64%. So you can see the leverage and the benefits we get out of the Moto and the x86 acquisitions. From a geo perspective, Asia Pacific contributes only 14% of our revenue, and 33% of the world's population is in our Asia Pacific geography. That's excluding China, obviously. We keep China as a separate entity. So what I run is basically Asia Pacific, everything outside of China in the Asia Pacific region, traditional Asia Pacific regions. It's 33% of the world's population. We're contributing just 14% of the Lenovo Group's revenue. It's a great opportunity for us. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in the next couple of slides when we get into Asia Pacific. CES, we received over 77 awards. More than any other brand. We're always very dominant when we come to these awards, thanks to our innovation, our R&D leverage, obviously the design work we do with our products. And it really stems back to listening to our customers and partners. By listening to our customers, we redesign products, and as a consequence, we end up getting a lot of awards. The CES outcome was really great. Everything from the flash stick that's sitting in that Lenovo product right now, all the way up to our Lovey Z, which was designed in Japan. It's the lightest 13-inch Ultrabook globally. And I think those sorts of awards we received at CES have been really good for our brand, as well as obviously great for sales as we move forward. Yoga Tablet 2 with the AnyPen software. You can see it there in the middle where you can write with a carrot or a pen or anything you want is a great bit of technology as well we developed specifically for our tablet product. Is there any real magic formula? The answer is no. I think really we've got a very clear strategy. We're operationally very strong, great innovative products. I think all of you would be very used to that, and a very diverse global team. I think that's probably one of the core strengths Lenovo has as a company globally, is our diverse team. When you look at my leadership team, you look at the LEC, you look at our board of directors, compared to a traditional global company, we're a very, very diverse organization. And I think that's one of the key strengths we have as a company. We have the best balance of that, as well as some of these great tenets, the right strategy, and the most innovative product sets globally. So let me give you, that's basically a global view. I'm going to give you a very quick view into Asia Pacific now. When you have a look at our PCs, you can see we've gone to a 15.9% market share according to IDC at the end of last year. Now this is quite interesting. You can see with our competitor, we stay very, very close to each other. The team that I work with in Asia Pacific, our job this year is to break away from that. And I think our job is to really step away. When you look at the 15.9% market share, that includes Japan. When we take Japan out, it's only 13.6% market share. Considering the company's global share worldwide is 19.7%, we have a lot of upside in Asia Pacific. We think there's a lot of upside in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, India, HTK, for example, ANZ. We've still got a lot of growth to go in Asia Pacific to be able to lift ourselves up, just to be on parity with the rest of the organisation. So you're going to see us very aggressively move to take extra share this year. So we're on a very strong growth strategy. When you have a look at tablets, as I mentioned earlier on, we're sort of at number 3, and you can see we're number 3, about 3 or 4 points behind the number 2 vendor. We believe we can get to that number 2 position quite aggressively this year. And it's going to come down to how we leverage ourselves in some core emerging markets in Asia Pacific, but it's a great opportunity for us. Basically, last year we grew 168% in Southeast Asia, 93% in India, for example, and 65% in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Korea. So there's a lot of growth that we've delivered that's got us to that number 3 position. We really need to once again step away from our competitors and go very aggressively after growth. From a smartphone perspective, Dylan's going to come up and talk to you a little bit later on about how our smartphone is. This says 2.4% market share, Dylan says 2.7%. The difference is just the IDC prelims versus the actuals. The reality is it was 2.7% that IDC came out with. Either way, we've got a lot of opportunity. When you have a look at our smartphone business, basically, there's still lots of opportunity for us in Asia Pacific. Dylan's going to talk to you a little bit about how we grow, both in the session in a couple of minutes, as well as later on this afternoon with you in the other section of the day. From an x86 position, we are number 3, and you can see that after the announcement, we obviously started to reduce our share, turning around from a profitability perspective, getting ourselves and the foundation set correctly. You can see in the last quarter, we started to lift back up. This is a great sign for us. Kong Meng, obviously in charge of the business for us, driving that extra growth in Q4, and hopefully from this point onwards, we're going to move into our growth strategy and consequently really establish ourselves clearly as battling for that number 2 position across Asia Pacific. It's really important that we get that momentum and growth back into the business so that we obviously fortify ourselves and get on track for Yanqing's $5 billion with better margins than our standard PC business. I think it's a great opportunity for us going forward as System X across Asia Pacific. We have a let's go into the 3 piece. First slide. This one's significant room for growth. We talked about it. 33% of the world's population, only 14% of Lenovo's revenue. It's up about 12% from the last year. I personally feel like we should be able to step that up a lot more significant this year. From a diverse country mix, we've got a very, very diversified region, obviously. GDP and the population is exploding in some parts of the market. When you look at some of the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities in both India and Indonesia, the growth that we have out of those cities and our presence there are disproportionate. We need to invest and get ourselves much stronger into those parts of the market over the next 6 to 12 months to set ourselves up for growth across Asia Pacific. And then when you look at our mature and our growing populations from a diversity perspective, Both Japan and ANZ, much older, much more mature, with Singapore, Hong Kong, for example, our mature markets delivering great average selling prices, great profitability, and then mixing that up with the emerging markets like India, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, for example, great growth opportunities for us over the next 12 months. Let's have a quick look at our strategies. You can see the very, very first one that I've got up there is EBG. I've already spoken about it. Kong Meng's going to talk to you in detail about it. We feel the EBG business, the System X business, has a lot of upside for us in Asia Pacific as we go forward. It's a very strong opportunity for us. From a consumer market position, we're very dominant in a couple of markets. Japan is a great example of that, where we're nudging 36 to 40% market share, according to GfK, and the market itself is very premium. When we have a look at the trends in the emerging market, Indonesia, India, for example, as I mentioned earlier on, as well as Southeast Asia, while the mainstream part of the consumer market is like that $350 to $500 market, there's a lot of premium market segment being developed in those markets we have to go and address. We need to get our premium products, our yoga branded products, specifically into those markets to portfolio play across our consumer space. It's a great opportunity for us to leverage our 2-in-1s and our convertible tablets. When you look at commercial, we feel that this is one of the key opportunities for us. When you have a look at the commercial market across Asia Pacific, we're growing. We're not growing as fast as one of our competitors, especially in SMB, which is the next space there. Those two pieces in commercial strategically very important for us from a growth perspective, both from a profitability as well as leveraging a lot more of the higher ASPs in the region. From a telco perspective, I spoke a bit about tablets earlier on. We've got to be one of the top 3 vendors in leveraging the telco market across Asia Pacific in the next 12 months. We've had some great successes in our mature markets, like Telstra, for example, and SoftBank. We have to leverage those a lot harder in the emerging markets and make sure we're leveraging our telco business a lot harder than we have historically. When you look at then the tablet hypergrowth, once again tablet as well as retail, we really have to be the #1 or #2 Windows tablet across the region. We need to be #1 in Android in retail, and then we have to be #3 in that telco space. And we have a lot of confidence that we have both the products as well as the diversified team to be able to go execute that. And then lastly, we need to expand our e-commerce capabilities. Right now across Asia Pacific, we have just 6 e-commerce stores. And that's something that we really need to expand. From an e-commerce/online retail perspective, we need to diversify our business into e-commerce a lot stronger than we do today. And when you're listening to me now saying that, you're probably, oh my goodness, really? But the reality is we're not in a lot of countries in Asia Pacific for e-commerce when the market is definitely moving there, and I need to diversify our operations to be able to leverage that. So when you hear all of these things, you realize there's a lot of opportunity for Lenovo in Asia Pacific when you look at our strategy. We have 4 main pillars of growth basically here. Accelerate, growth, 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 growth. If I'm talking to my team internally, I only speak about growth. It's the key pillar that we have to go and drive very strongly. Efficiency, we've got to collaborate with our alliance partners and our partners a lot more. It's a key core tenet we have is efficiency. We've got to be a lot faster and a lot more efficient in how we operate. From a speed perspective, we need to simplify all of our business processes and really make our country managers, who are much closer to the customer, able to make much bigger, and better, stronger decisions local, closer to the customer. And then obviously with the team that we've got now, the diversified team, it's really important that we continue to leverage the talent and train our people and diversify them a lot more. So the very last thing I've got down there is celebrating success and having fun. I like to have fun, obviously, when I'm operating the business, and consequently, I'm trying to instill that through the team as much as we possibly can as well. When you have a look at one of the key things we've got as an organisation is listening to our customers, and a great example of that is actually our X1 Carbon commercial product. That X1 Carbon commercial product has been our flagship executive jewellery product, I suppose, historically for us. In the previous model, we leveraged a touch point which had no buttons, as well as a strip across the top, a dynamic strip that moved and changed its button capability based on the application we had loaded. Once we launched the product, our customers came back and said, we don't like it. We actually like the real manual touch throughout the product, and consequently we changed based on their feedback. We took the investment that we made in the technology and stopped it. And that's just purely from customer feedback. As a result, Yang Qing and the LEC have come to us and said, we want to be listening more to customers. What do they actually want from us? And this is basically our Voice of Customer project that we're running across Asia Pacific. We're going to launch it first in Japan, then we're going to move it into India and the rest of the region. We're effectively taking social media feedback from all of our customers, whatever it might be, whether it's about a product, whether it's about our service, and amalgamating it all so we're listening to our customers and understanding what they're looking for from us as an organisation. It's not about the United States, like one standard amalgamated product. We're going to be actually customising it by country, because each country has different needs and each country has different vehicles in which it's giving its communication back to us. So in Japan, I've used this one for Japan, for example, we've got Goo, for example, up there. But in India, for example, for our India friends here, it would be Flipkart or someone like that. The feedback we'd be taking from a comments perspective would be amalgamating from Flipkart, as well as other places, blogs, Twitter, for example, in India specifically, to ensure we're getting customised India-unique feedback so we know what we've got to go and address. I think this is probably the most strategically important project we've got globally right now in Lenovo, and I'm very confident that it's going to be a great source of information and feedback for us on how we drive the company going forward. This is our very last, this is my very last slide, I think. Effectively was mentioned last week across the web after we did our earnings. He called Lenovo's future fascinating, and the only company with scale or range of product offerings to challenge technology's big brand at the moment. If you have basically when you think about it, Lenovo is the only company in the world that goes from wearables / smartphones all the way up into the enterprise data center now. And you can see as we diversify into our cloud and ecosystem offerings, as well as our service offerings, etc., you're going to see us diversify a lot more. He really feels that our future is very strong. And I hope very much that you share that vision with him after you've been here for the last couple of days. That is all from me. I want to thank you all for my time, and I'm with a lot of you this afternoon, so please hold your questions, and I'm going to hand back over to Steph now, and straight to Kong Meng, so he can present on the System X. So thank you very much, and have a great day.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Very warm welcome to a very hazy day in Beijing. I have a confession to make, Rod. I think last night, Matt and I were the only guys up in the bar.
Why does that not surprise me, though?
Well, given the fact that, we had to come in the morning and present to you guys, I think we did a pretty good job of not getting ourselves too drunk. Right, that's part of the having fun, part of Rod's strategy that we were talking about. Okay, my name is Kong Meng again. I run the System X, or the entire Enterprise Business Group, business for Rod in Asia Pacific. It is a growing business, and I think right now it is the most exciting business that Lenovo has today. You heard Rod mention my name several times during the presentation, and this for a very good reason, because the company is seriously focused on making sure that we get to a leadership position in a very short period of time within the System X or the x86 business worldwide. Now, I spent about 20 odd years now in the IT business. Part of that, about 13 years in IBM. The last 10 have been with Lenovo. So I've been part of the transformation that happened when Lenovo took over the IBM PC business 10 years ago. Okay, and it's been a very exciting ride. Lots of ups and downs, but essentially, as you saw just now from Rod, all good at the end of the day. Okay. One more thing is, this is my Twitter handle at Lenovo KM. Please go and follow it. I'm at 97 followers as of this morning. So I need all of you to go to Twitter and just basically start following me. Right? I'll give you lots of stuff. All right. So back to where we want to be. Okay. Don't sue me. This is an internal only slide. All right. We sort of tongue-in-cheek wise copied the Wall Street Journal headlines. In 5 years' time, we want to be the #1 server business in the world. Okay, it's a very bold statement, I know. But we believe that I think only Lenovo can do it. Right? And It's not just from the fact that we acquired the IBM System X business last year, but we already started laying the foundation for that about 3-4 years ago when we started building up the Think Server business. Okay, now, many of you may be asking yourselves, how are we going to do it? Over the next 20 minutes or so, I will share with you some of the actions that we are taking, some of the strategic steps that we are moving in the right direction to help convince you that we will be there. So much animation. Okay, what's happened since the acquisition? We announced the acquisition in about January of last year. It's been more than a year since then. Unfortunately for us, for the first 6 to 8 months after the announcement of the acquisition, we're going through a lot of regulatory approvals with not just the US government, but authorities worldwide. And we reached a stage in October when we were able to officially take over the business from IBM. Since then, we have had an addition of 3,200 salespeople around the world selling enterprise solutions, all with skill sets to be able to go to a customer's data center, to go to a customer's CIO, to go to a customer's IT department, to start talking about their enterprise solutions. Right now, we've also doubled the number of salespeople who can sell enterprise business solutions because we've integrated both our PC sales teams as well as our enterprise sales teams into one massive sales force around the world, especially in Asia Pacific. Now, just a little bit look back. Rod shared with you our market share earlier. I just want to recap the chart here, right? This is our trajectory since we took over the IBM PC business since 2009 until last quarter where we were about 20%. Okay, we are now number 3 in smartphones worldwide after having launched the business about 2 years ago. We're number 3 in tablets since we launched the product about 2 years ago. Okay. We're now number 3 in x86 servers worldwide, including both the Think Server range that we've got as well as the System X range. Now we are, as you saw just now from a market share perspective, still not as strong as we would like to be. Over the last 3 quarters since we announced the acquisition, the System X share from IBM has actually declined quarter on quarter and year on year. Great. It's our intention that we reverse that trend, and you can see that stabilizing already. We are about 10% in Asia Pacific, around about the same number worldwide. Strong number 3 position, I would say, but it's not our intention to be happy with just number 3. Within Asia Pacific, within worldwide, we want to get to a number 1 position in 5 years' time. And in order for us to do that, one of the key things that we will be emphasizing is we are the only, I guess, the only vendor left in the world who is focused on an end-to-end solution. From an enterprise customer point of view, from a consumer customer point of view. And we are number 1 in PCs. That gives us great opportunity, great leverage to go into the corporate IT environment, have those discussions with CIOs, with CTOs in the business about not just PCs now, but also servers, storage, and solutions. Tablets, and the trend about BYOD, bringing your own device, whether it's a smartphone, whether it is a tablet, etc., into the corporate enterprise, that helps us as well because we are everywhere now in terms of devices in consumer. Right? Most of the retail outlets that you go to in Asia Pacific and in fact around the world, customers and consumers recognize our brand. So that will help us from engagement, from a market share perspective, not just on the device level, but also recognition when it comes to installing critical or mission critical IT infrastructure in the corporate enterprise. Number 3, in servers. This is a very different message that you will hear from us. Right? We are integrating and putting all the different bits and pieces, all the different pieces of the puzzle into one seamless solution for customers, compared to some of our competitors who right now are going through, I would call it a disintegration or split. Some of them have decided to step away from the glare of the public spotlight and delist themselves from stock exchanges. Others have decided to split their businesses into two, right? Taking away the device business from the enterprise business. We believe that by combining our solutions from end to end, from devices all the way to IT infrastructure, storage, servers, solutions, the cloud, we'll be able to deliver a lot more value to our enterprise customers, but also to our consumer customers. So why Lenovo? All right. Few key points here. We've got some strategic relationships which we will build on. As always, our base is innovation and commitment to the business. When we started 10 years ago in the PC business, many people were doubtful that we will be successful. Many people were doubtful that we would be able to maintain the brand equity, maintain the quality of the ThinkPad. Look at the ThinkPad now, right? We've launched the X1 Carbon already. I think it's our flagship product, but already it's in its 3rd generation since 2 years ago. And we listen to customer feedback and make it a lot better than it was before. So we've proven that we've got the track record to be able to integrate and absorb new technologies, new companies, and make them even better. Over not just the long term, but immediately. And that's what we want to do with the System X business. I'll talk about reliability, customer satisfaction later on, but important thing that is slightly different from the PC business is this. In order for us to be successful in the enterprise business, we need to have strong strategic relationships as part of the ecosystem. Right? And the strength that Lenovo has is we are only focused on just the hardware, the servers, the storage, and some essential enablers in terms of either firmware or applications, right? But we will work with all key business partners or strategic ISVs across the world. And they don't include just what you see here, but a lot more of them. Okay, what is our enterprise portfolio today? We sell basically the entire range of system products, from 1P or one-way 2P servers, powers and racks, all the way to high-performance computers, what we call next scale. All right, so we've got everything. In fact, some of the fastest computers in the world are Lenovo x86 systems worldwide. So you see here is 2 charts. One on the left is basically our reliability rating. Smaller is better because this is downtime. You look at it, Lenovo System X has only about a 1% downtime. Right? It is better than everybody else in the industry bar one, which is called the IBM System Z. That's the mainframe. Right? And mainframes are, by inherent, by design, the most reliable servers that are out there. Okay? And we beat every single one of our competitors flat in terms of reliability ratings. Right? We are 99% uptime compared to IBM System Z, which is really very high-end, expensive stuff. and that is about 99.99% uptime. So nobody in the world, as far as x86 is concerned, can beat us when it goes when it concerns uptime. At the same time, we are also number one in customer satisfaction. Okay. And we do that by a combination of excellent service and support, but also pre-sale support, solution support, with working with customers. So what about our partners? This is just a handful of the key partners that we are working with, including Oracle, Microsoft, EMC, and so on. And we've got strategic relationships at the highest levels with them, and you will see that coming out over the next few months. The key is this. Our heritage for Lenovo is we are very comfortable working in an environment of multi-vendor relationships where in some cases we compete with one another, but in many cases we also work with one another. And we also know that in order for us to be successful, we need to be able to work with all these ISVs, alliance partners, and not to exclude any of them. And that's from our heritage of working in an Intel, x86, Microsoft, Windows environment. And we'll take that and apply it to our relationships with the ISVs so that they also feel comfortable working with us. And let's just put it this way. In the past, that was not exactly true. Okay? If you compare to the previous environment that our System X business was in. So what are the opportunities? Globally, we're looking at about $100 billion business, which is why the company is so excited about the System X business. And we're not just looking at servers, we are looking at storage, we are looking at services, as well as networking. Okay, it's about $100 billion. Some of you, depending on the kind of versions of data you're looking at, it could go up to about $120 billion. All right? More than 3 times of PC customers use servers today. Okay. So that's an important thing, right? We need to be able to grow, and we believe that because our share is still about 10%, and we've only just begun executing our strategy, we will be able to outgrow the market at a very fast rate over the next 5 years. So, within Asia Pacific, what is our opportunity? It's a $7 billion business or market in AP. This is sort of an IDC base chart, but if you look at it, we have $7 billion for servers, hardware only. Half of that is in Japan. So in order for us to be successful, we need to make sure that we are successful in Japan. And we have dedicated strategy for Japan, as well as the other key markets that we are in. One of the strengths of Lenovo is this. We do not have a monolithic strategy that we execute around the world. It is not just one strategy that we go focus on and execute across the world. It is a multitude of strategies depending on the market, whether it is a mature market or whether it is an emerging market. And that's what we intend to do for Japan as well as the rest of the markets in AP. Right, the 2 largest opportunities across the board are very large enterprises and SMB. Okay. Very large enterprise is key for us. These are where all the large data centers sit. We've inherited a legacy of extremely experienced salespeople, extremely experienced tech salespeople from IBM who are able to address this market. So we've got that covered. SMB is where our core strength of channels, our core strength of campaign-driven or 4P campaign-driven activity for Lenovo is. And we're going to combine those 2 strengths into one formidable force that we will be able to win in the market. Some detailed strategies. I won't go through every single one of them. Naturally, we need to develop and continue to retain our key talent within the System X space or the enterprise space. Services is important for us. It is a high margin business, and we want to make sure that we continue to focus on that. Our leadership on the high end is unchallenged today, and we want to continue to extend that leadership. On the other hand, where we want to attack and grow share is in our high volume rack and tower business. And that's tremendous opportunity for us. We will also launch within Asia Pacific our ThinkServer range of products specifically to attack SMB customers as well as SMB channels. We are building a storage, enterprise storage business. Right? And this week you will see some announcements that will come up on our new enterprise storage range, as well as alliances with EMC. We will attack growth segments, and that means for us segments like tech refresh, consolidation, key ISVs, for example, SAP, Microsoft 2003 transitions, and the biggest segment of the market today within Asia Pacific, and I'd say the world as well, is mainstream 2P rack optimized systems, and we'll put a lot of focus to deliver value to our customers in that space. So this is my last chart. What are our top 5 priorities? When I talk to the teams, when I talk to the region GMs, these are the 5 things that we want to talk about. Focus on the biggest opportunities. And it's not just the big deals, but also the biggest opportunities where they are from a product perspective, mainstream 2P racks, or from a market perspective, SMB. Efficiency and speed. You will hear it across the board, regardless of who you talk to within Lenovo. Right? We will continue to focus on efficiency and speed because that's what gets you success in this business. Right? We will deliver the basics, and we consider things like time to market, cost, and quality, basic stuff, right? Which we do and execute tremendously well. Innovation. You will continue to see from us the growing roadmap, in fact, more and better products over time. Today, we are committed to the roadmap that we've got or inherited from the System X business. We will continue to grow and expand that roadmap. And number 1, as Rod mentioned earlier, customer experience. And we'll continue to get customer feedback to make sure that we improve our products as well as improve our services. Okay. Thank you very much. I will now hand you over to Dylan.
Actually, thanks so much. We'll now have a 10-minute break.
Okay.